My name is Rachel. I'm 34 years old. I live in Columbus, Ohio. I have a decent job, a small apartment, and a rescue dog named Biscuit, who thinks every single day is the best day of his life. And until about 2 years ago, I thought I knew exactly who I was. I had a mom. Her name was Linda. I had memories. Her making me grilled cheese on Sunday mornings. Her sitting in the front row at every school play. Her voice on the phone every Thursday night like clockwork. I had a history. A name. A family. And then one Thanksgiving, all of it cracked open. It was November 2022. My Aunt Deborah's house in Cincinnati. 47 people. I want you to really picture that. 47 relatives packed into a ranch house that smelled like mac and cheese, pine sol, and someone's too strong perfume. 3 generations. Cousins you only see twice a year. Great aunts who pinch your cheeks even when you're in your 30s. I was in the kitchen with my cousin Tanya, helping with the dinner rolls. We were laughing about something stupid. I don't even remember what. And then I heard it. Linda's voice, rising above everything. And something in my stomach dropped before my brain even caught up. I walked to the doorway of the living room. And there she was, my mother, standing up. Glass of sweet tea in her hand, like she was about to make a toast at a wedding. The room was already going quiet, and she said, "I will hear these words for the rest of my life. I just want everyone here to know the truth. Rachel is not my biological daughter. She never was. And I think it's time this family stopped pretending otherwise." 47 people. Complete silence. Not one fork moving. Not one conversation finishing. The TV in the back room was playing a football game, and that was the only sound in the entire house. My cousin Tanya grabbed my arm so hard it left a mark. My uncle's phone slipped out of his hand. My grandma, 82 years old, the most dignified woman I have ever met, said, "Linda, what in the Lord's name?" And Linda sat back down, took a long sip of her sweet tea, and said, "Pass the cornbread, please." I don't remember walking to my car. I don't remember the drive out of the neighborhood. I remember sitting in a parking lot off the highway, engine running and not being able to make myself go anywhere. I sat there for 2 hours. My phone was lighting up over and over. Cousins texting, aunts calling, even my Uncle Raymond, who I hadn't spoken to in 3 years because of a whole separate situation. He called twice. I didn't answer any of it. I just sat there and kept asking myself one question, Is it true? Because here's the thing, and I've never said this out loud to very many people. I always knew I looked different from Linda. She is a tall woman, blonde, blue eyes, sharp angular features. I am 5'2" with brown skin and dark curly hair and brown eyes. My whole life, people asked questions. At school, at church, even at the grocery store sometimes. And Linda always had the same answer. She gets it from her father's side. My father's name was David. He died in a car accident when I was 4 years old. I have 3 memories of him and 1 photograph, so I could never ask him. And I never pushed Linda, because she was my mum. And you don't push your mom on something like that when you're 8 years old. And then you're 12. And then somehow you're 34. And you've just never asked the question out loud. I went home. I didn't sleep. The next morning I called Linda. She picked up on the first ring, which was unusual. Linda is a voicemail person when she's in one of her moods. I said, "Mom, what did you do last night?" She said, "I told the truth." I said, "What truth?" And she said, her voice was flat, like she had rehearsed this, or like she had simply run out of any other way to feel about it. She said, "Rachel, Your father had an affair. You are the result of that affair. You are not my biological child. I raised you because David begged me to. Because your biological mother didn't want you. And I have kept that secret for 34 years and I am done keeping it. And she hung up 90 seconds. Less than 90 seconds. And every story I had ever told myself about who I was just ... dissolved. I ordered a DNA test that same afternoon. Ancestry DNA. $79. I paid for the faster shipping. I don't even know why. Like knowing sooner was going to make any of it easier. I swabbed my cheek. I sent it off. And then I waited 3 weeks that felt like 3 years. I went to work. I walked biscuit. I answered emails and made coffee and acted like everything was fine. And every night I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling and tried to figure out which parts of my own memories I could still trust. The email came on a Tuesday morning. I was sitting in my car in the work parking lot. I couldn't open something like that inside, with other people nearby. I needed to be alone. So I just sat there in the cold with my phone and I opened it. My ethnicity results came first. They were nothing like what I expected. Nothing like Linda's family. Nothing like the photograph of the man I had called my father for 34 years. I stared at those results for a long time. And then I scrolled down. DNA matches. And there was a name I had never seen before in my life. Patricia. Listed as close family. Possible first cousin or half-sibling. We shared 1,700 centimorgans of DNA. Now, if you're not familiar with how DNA matching works, that number is significant. That's not, we might be distantly related. That is, we are absolutely, closely, biologically connected. I looked at her profile picture. A woman who looked to be in her late 50s. Silver hair. Warm eyes. A blue sweater. She was smiling at whoever was taking the photo. She looked familiar. I could not figure out why I sent her a message. I kept it simple because I didn't know how to be anything else. I said, "Hi Patricia. My name is Rachel. I think we might be related. I'm only now learning the truth about my biological family. If you're open to talking, I'd really love that." I closed the app, went inside, sat through 3 meetings and a lunch I didn't taste. When I checked again, she had already replied. Her message said, "Rachel. Oh my God, I have been waiting for this message for 34 years. Please call me. Please." I called her that evening. My hands were shaking when I dialed. She answered immediately, and within the first 5 minutes of that phone call, everything I thought I knew, everything Linda had told me, everything I had assumed and accepted and built my sense of self on, it all came apart. Patricia was not my cousin. Patricia was my aunt. My biological mother's younger sister. My biological mother's name was Carol. And Carol. Patricia told me this through tears. Carol had not abandoned me. Had not wanted me. Had not walked away. Carol had spent the last 34 years believing I was dead. Let me say that again, because I need you to really hear this. My biological mother thought I had died. She had grieved me. She had mourned a child for 34 years, while I was alive and growing up and going to school and getting my heart broken and adopting a dog and living my entire life 45 minutes away from where she used to live. Linda had told her the baby didn't survive. Patricia told me the whole story. Carol and my father David had a relationship before he married Linda. When Carol got pregnant, David panicked. He was already committed to Linda. He told Carol he would handle everything. He begged Linda to raise the baby as her own. And Linda agreed, on one condition. Carol could never know the child was alive. So David went back to Carol and told her there were complications. that the baby was gone. Because why wouldn't she? Why would anyone lie about something like that? I was crying. Patricia was crying. My dog was pawing at my leg because he could tell something was wrong. I was pacing my kitchen in circles and I couldn't stop. I asked Patricia why now? Why did Linda blow this whole thing up at Thanksgiving in front of 47 people? Why after 34 years? Patricia got quiet for a moment, then she said, "Rachel, Carol was recently diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. We think word got around through some mutual connections. We think Linda found out. And we think she couldn't stand the idea of Carol dying without the truth coming out." She paused. But instead of telling Carol, she told everyone else. Carol was sick. My biological mother was sick and fighting for her life. And she still did not know that I existed. I wrote 3 drafts. The first one was too angry. The second one was too clinical. The third one, I just wrote the truth. Who I was, what I'd found out, what I hoped. And I mailed it. 2 weeks later, my phone rang. Number I didn't recognize. Oregon area code. I answered. Her voice was soft, a little tired. She was in the middle of treatment. But warm. The kind of warm you can't manufacture. The kind that just lives inside a person and comes through no matter what. She said, "Is it really you?" And I said, "I think so. I'm still figuring that out." She laughed. And I know this sounds impossible, but her laugh, something in it sounded like something I recognized. Like a melody you've heard somewhere, but can't quite name. Something familiar living inside a stranger's voice. We talked for 2 hours. About everything and nothing. About her life, about mine, about the smallest things. Her garden, my dog, what we both order at coffee shops. We were both afraid to go too deep too fast. We were both circling something enormous and neither of us wanted to fall in. I flew to Portland 6 weeks later. Green door. Flower boxes in the windows. Patricia met me on the porch. She hugged me before I even said a word, like she'd been storing that hug for a long time, and just needed somewhere to put it. And then Carol came to the door. Silver hair. A little thinner than she looked in the photos Patricia had shown me. She was wearing a grey cardigan, and she was holding the door frame like she needed something to hold on to. And I understood that, because I needed something too. We stood there for a moment. 2 complete strangers who were not strangers at all. And I realized why Patricia had looked familiar to me in her profile photo. She had my eyes, and so did Carol. I had been looking for myself in Linda my whole life. And the whole time, the answer was somewhere else. Carol opened her arms. And I walked in. I'm not going to pretend it was a perfect movie moment. We're still learning each other. We talk on the phone twice a week. And we're taking it slow because neither of us knows exactly how to do this. She's still in treatment. Some weeks are harder than others. We don't have 34 years to catch up on. We just have now, and whatever comes next. But she knows I'm alive. And I know she never once stopped loving the child she thought she'd lost. And that, after everything, is something. As for Linda, we haven't spoken since that phone call the morning after Thanksgiving. I don't know if we ever will. I'm in therapy. I'm working through what it means to have been raised by someone who loved you. And also kept a secret that cost another woman 34 years of grief. Both of those things are true. I'm learning to hold both of them without letting either one swallow me whole. What I keep coming back to is this. Linda didn't have to raise me. She didn't have to show up. She didn't have to braid my hair or sit in the front row or call every Thursday night. She chose to. And I don't know yet what to do with that. I don't know if what she did was love in a broken container, or if it was something more complicated than I have words for yet. Maybe both. Maybe that's just what some families are. If you're watching this and you're sitting on a secret about a child, about an identity, about someone's entire history. I want you to hear me. The truth always finds a way to the surface. It always does. And when it comes out, how it comes out, and who gets to hear it first, that becomes part of the story too. That becomes part of what people have to heal from. Don't let someone else control how your truth gets told. This channel exists because people need to say the things they've been carrying. Real stories, real people, real life. If my story resonated with you, share it. And if you have something of your own, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. My name is Rachel. I'm 34 years old. I have a rescue dog named Biscuit. A green-doored house I've never lived in, but somehow feel at home in. And for the first time in my life, I know where my eyes come from. I'm still figuring out who I am, but I'm not figuring it out alone anymore.